There's no denying that Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines is a cult classic. Now, is it a cult classic because it's missing elements that needed to elevate it to make it a great game? Or is it just one of those that people just needed a bit more patience for and didn't recognize how good it was at the time? Let's find out. I adore this game, even though there are a lot of issues and it hasn't aged particularly well thanks to a lack of quality of life features. So bear with me as I get the negatives out of the way. Think of it as a compliment sandwich, just lacking a slice of bread, and the filling has some tears and anger mixed in. Let's start with the very first thing you do in the game. Create your vampire. There are very few appearance options, with all of them being restricted to your class. It doesn't exactly make sense when you think too deeply about it, except the Nosferatu class, but ignore that. Another issue is how your upgrade choices are repeated across various skills. Way too many only improve one stat and makes a lot of the upgrades the exact same, even if they call it something different. You'll also need patience when playing this game. It's very slow paced throughout the entire game. Some quests can be confusing, and you could easily miss crucial progression points because you aren't on the exact pixel needed to complete an objective. You won't know where to go either, as there are no quest markers or important NPC flags. You could say this makes it immersive as you learn where everyone is. I call it poor game design, as you don't get the choice. You don't even get a fully fleshed out fast travel system. The taxi just takes you to each area instead of specific points. The overarching storyline feels way too railroady until the last quarter of the game. You can't even draw your weapon in certain areas, even if you know you'll want to kill that person later on. Plus, the lack of any real relationship development hinders the game a lot, making those early characters essentially disappear from the story and world once you move on to the next area. Okay, are you done sharpening your stakes now? I'll get to the praise and what I loved about the game. First of all, the characters. All of the main and most of the side characters sink their teeth into your curiosity. Hey, I even audibly went, "Ah, poor guy," when a homeless quest NPC died. You'll have many memorable moments that'll stick with you for a good while, so don't blame me if you remember and randomly giggle in the street. While the storyline is railroady, it's also intriguing and engaging enough that when you do finally make a meaningful decision, it feels that much more impactful. Combat, while janky, does offer you a variety of ways to play the game your way. Melee, ranged and magic combat are all viable choices, so feel free to use that severed limb in your pocket and smack people around with it. If you do want to specialise in each style of combat, know that multiple playthroughs are a great option to do this, enhanced by the fact you have completely different dialogue choices and options available to you based on which class you are and what expertises you choose for your character. The final thing I want to touch on is how good most of the quests are, especially when VTMB goes full horror mode. Not relying on heavy jump scares, instead it completely unsettles you and makes you extremely paranoid. Also, some of the decisions offered to you will have you questioning which is the correct choice to make. What may benefit you may cost you your humanity, both figuratively and literally. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines is a great game which I enjoyed. However, I don't want to play it again. The whole time it felt like a precursor to a truly amazing game, but just couldn't quite make it this time around. The time you spend playing this game will have you smiling, but there will be occasions where that turns to you grinding your teeth, especially with all the bugs and the fact you need a patch to make it even slightly playable. Now, it's interesting for me to say that I really enjoyed and loved playing this game, yet I don't want to play it again. It's a very tough way to say, oh, I recommend this, even though me, myself, that's it. I've done my time, as it were, and I'm not going to be playing any more of this game. It's just a bit too tedious in certain aspects, which would have made me just replay this countless times if they were fixed. But I really think people should play this if you haven't already. And if you have and got to maybe like the first hour or 90 minutes and thought, oh, this is going to drag on, just push through it. It's similar in some ways to when I played System Shock 2. I played that game for the first like 2 and something hours and then just stopped before I fully just went through and powered on with the game. And I was rewarded for it. And I think it's the same that applies to this game as well. So definitely, if it's just one of those games which were so close to going through with, but just backed out at the last second, I think you should really just go for it. Absolutely. Finish that game. Even if it's just a one playthrough, or you may want to do multiple playthroughs, especially with certain different classes. But I really think you should at least complete this game one time if you've ever been curious enough to play it. I think it's worth it. But, you don't have to play it again after that.